love working with Michele.
I feel buoyant and alive, Michele. That's amazing. I don't feel as though I've got to get...
This is Michele Holong, and I'm the host of the Sparkle Experience Show. And tonight we are going to talk about a very serious topic, and it's depression. Now, I'm going to bring up with me a special guest, DK Warinner. He is the founder of the Center of Calm, and we're going to just have a nice conversation here tonight about depression, right, DK?
Absolutely. I was feeling kind of depressed earlier, but I'm feeling better now.
Are you now?
Yeah. I'm feeling a bit more sparkly now. Good evening.
Yeah, so the reason we wanted to talk about depression is because something that there's a lot of people who feel bad about admitting they're depressed. And I think what I was saying to DK before this is that we all have different days where we are depressed, but we're not admitting we're depressed, maybe. And there shouldn't be a stigma, because the only way to help depression that I've found is you have to first acknowledge that you are depressed so you can get help. And, it's like anything. If I have a cold, you have to admit have a cold so you can go and get the medicine and get the healing you need, or get the support if you need people to go out and get stuff for you, right, DK?
Totally. I actually feel quite depressed when on a rare occasion when I have a cold, for sure. So I totally get what you're talking about.
Well, what are the symptoms of depression anyway? They say if you have the MDD, the depressive state, you have to have 5 symptoms of depression to define that you are depressed. And what that is meaning is there's some stage of you having difficulty sleeping, maybe. I have some of that sometimes. Either you sleep too much or you sleep too little, and then you wake up feeling drained still, even though you're supposed to have had X number of hours sleep. You may feel that you have no appetite or too much. You're just binge because, it's just something to do. You may feel that, you have difficulty getting out of bed. Sometimes I have that too, right? You don't really want to get out of bed. But the thing with depression is, to be in a really depressive state, you don't want to get out of bed because you're just not in the mood. There's that mood element of it. Whereas sometimes you just don't want to get out of bed because you feel lazy. That's typical, right? That's just you're lazy. But when it's a mood and you just can't get yourself moving because there's this feeling inside of you, that's the depressive state. And difficulty concentrating or making decisions just because, again, of that, whatever it is, hopelessness, sadness. And there's other things, lack of interest in things that you used to love to do. And all of a sudden it's just, don't want to do it. No, don't want to do it. Just disinterest or uninterested feeling of being involved with anything where you used to love it. Then that's kind of a very clear sign. Inability to complete usual tasks or activities, feelings of irritability, frustration, or grief or guilt, that kind of thing. What do you see?
I would say that I just want to be careful that being too fascinated or interested in depression, I just want to make sure that's not going to make me depressed. What I think I'm all right?
Yeah, that's right. Because,
Okay.
it's a topic that a lot of people shy away from because there's that thing, don't want to, there's that feeling that it's something bad, but it's something, life happens, and sometimes life happens and we're human, and some of us can handle upset more than others, and then maybe it's a whole bunch of stuff together and it adds up, and then all of a sudden you spiral down, and then you're in this state where everything feels like it's too much. And then the worst part is it can lead somewhere else where we don't really want to go, right?
Totally. Yeah. And really, to me, the reason for being here is just that, both of us have found solutions where we can quickly reverse, that kind of deep, dark feeling that can come with, the symptoms of depression and actually, physically being depressed, if you will, on a visceral level, and simply reverse it quickly, right?
Right. So DK, can you just share with us with us a little what it is that you do at the Center of Calm?
Well, actually, the Center of Calmness was I founded that as a result of probably what you would call depression. Although I struggle with a panic level of anxiety from when I was just 2 years old all the way through into my 40s, and so that was I labeled my experiences more from the anxiety, from a fear of the future perspective. And a lot of folks speak of depression as sort of like a regret of the past motivated scenario, but to me they're both the same, right? They pull the person out of joy and into some kind of fear mode, right? That tends to spiral upon itself, and that's what causes the amplification, and that's what causes it to be progressively more and more difficult to move forward in life, right? And that's what we tend to call depression, that leads to the insomnia, or in my case it's maybe hypersomnia, wanting to sleep 10 12 hours a day and waking up still not feeling refreshed, still feeling like having a heavy load. And I just, as you mentioned depression, and as we talk about those symptoms, I just think back to a time that actually became the founding moment of my own program, right? The Center of Calmness, the program I call Calm Within, right? Where I teach folks that have inner turmoil, that may have symptoms of depression or high anxiety or panic or a sense of overwhelm, especially in multiple very high stressful situations, say difficulty at home as well as difficulty in a professional environment together, right? And I teach folks to take that turmoil and not so much set it aside, but just to release it, right? Just to take the power back over their body and their mind, so that they can produce, if you will, produce a sense and feeling of calm.
So, in
And
other words, to catch it before it gets so bad that it becomes a chronic state.
totally, yeah,
Because
totally, yeah.
the five thing that they say major, the MDD stands for major depressive disorder. So the definition of that is if you have, remember I listed off a whole bunch of stuff. So if you have five of those symptoms, any which one of them for days and at least 2 weeks straight, kind of, like a period of where you have maybe a bunch of days but it's over 2 weeks. And so I guess the question is, out there, are you depressed? Do you have a tinge or a twinge, a twinge of depression where, you may need to have a friend who can support you in getting you out of it before you get into it too much, if that makes sense.
And I would offer too this tip for folks out there. If a friend is coming up to you with a really serious look of concern on their face, saying, "Is everything all right?" That's probably that's not a sign for you to fight back at them. It's more a sign of maybe there's something that you may not personally be aware of, at least in your conscious mind, that that you might actually be affected by this depressive situation. And that's the time to look for solutions, right? Calmness is one of those where we can get to this, when it's still a minor situation, before it gets major. And even when it's major, a person must have some tools to address it. Just in my mind, although there's plenty of medical solutions available, I prefer personal power approaches and really if you will, regulating one's own self, first and foremost, before having to resort to actually being. And not to say that we're recommending not going under a doctor's care. This is, we're not substituting the advice. If you feel you got to visit the doctor, absolutely do so.
Well, the thing
But
they say is,
there's so much we can do, right?
yeah, the thing they
Before
say
that
is
happens.
that a lot of the population, like they were saying, one of the stats is that there's like 19 million teens and adults with depression in the USA. And then they say that the thing about it is that sometimes people don't realize they're depressed, or they are there's an underdiagnosis of depression, especially in seniors, because there's so many other things that kind of have that depressed state in it that it gets misdiagnosed and not diagnosed as depression. And what I guess the question is now, why would you care? And what research it says that if you choose a wrong thing, whether it's you think you're bipolar or it's a personality disorder or anxiety, if you go into those things and you misdiagnose it, then you get the wrong treatment. And then the wrong treatment, some of it could be harmful depending on whether, if you're on, if it involves drugs or other things. So that it gets to be a very complicated things. Now, the reason why I wanted to spotlight this on the Sparkle Experience show is because more and more people, I think, especially today in the US, this rate is going up. They said it's increased over the last couple of years. And there's 1 in 14, I think it was, that the WHO World Health Organization says, in the States has depression. It's something that many years ago, probably 20 years ago now, I helped somebody with Sparkle in the Bay department store. And she was so impressed that a year later, she came back at me and she said, Michele, I have a friend. She's on $100 for a pill. And she has had chronic depression for a long time. And these pills don't work anymore. And she is beside herself. She can't function and she doesn't know what to do because these pills are no longer effective. Could she come to you for a Sparkle session? And so I agreed, and she came in, and after an hour working on her, there's these tears. She's lying down and there's these tears, and the way I work, right? So I didn't hit her and I didn't slap her or anything, but so I said, are you okay? Are you okay? And she says, no, these are tears of joy. I never thought ever in my life again I would feel the way I feel right now. And with that said, she paid me, and I have not seen or heard from her since. She left with a smile on her face, and so it's energy work, it's quantum, but it can help with mental issues, and I can't guarantee results or anything. But we'll be doing a Sparkle session segment of the show towards the end of tonight too. So if you can tune into this on the replay and see if it helps, because Sparkle is timeless and it goes through time and space, right? And I worked on someone else, and this person had chronic depression for years, and I met him at a family gathering, and I said, well, I can work on you and we can see if we can help, right? But he was not open to that. And then a couple months later, he actually phoned from Jamaica and said, I think I'd like to try that. So we got on a phone call and I worked on him. And an hour later, he was going, I don't know how I'm feeling this way. If you had told me before that it was possible to feel this way after a call on the phone with you, I would have told you it was impossible. So there's no necessity to tell stories. There's nothing for whoever it is to do. It's just tune in, allow, release, breathe, and see what can happen with the energy, right? That we share. So that's kind of just, one of the things. And then there's a cognitive things we can do, which DK, you were speaking about, which is how do you keep yourself from going down that road? First tip,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
So it's the same thing for all mental health things. It is get proper exercise, like start exercising. When you exercise, it brings your energy up, right? Gets your blood going. And then eat properly, sleep properly if you can, relax, do things that you enjoy doing, so it brings a smile to your face, and be thankful for what you have. Celebrate the things that are going on well in your life, and think positively. Catch yourself when you're not thinking, everything, you're thinking things are bad. Just try and get yourself up. Talk to a friend, get a support net in place. Just friends. That's what friends are for, right? And
Absolutely.
and try, just be kind to yourself.
Yeah. And actually the calmness approach that I teach really speaks most powerfully to the person who's perhaps has a habit of not being so kind to themselves. And if you think about, you know, how that might manifest, right? Anxieties and I think also depressions would tend to come from a person sort of, you know, kind of beating up on themselves frequently, or taking self-criticism, which can be so much harsher than outside criticism, for example, and having a generally negative outlook on life and on the future, right? That you know, that can start the negative spiral and really start you know, a trend away from your proper self-care, as you're mentioning, Michelle, right? And the calmness methods work toward that element of, as you mentioned, Michelle, relaxation, right? And just allowing some of this pressure that we put on ourselves to be released, right, through some a little bit deeper techniques. Although the list that you mentioned, Michelle, is super huge, and really a person that's already doing that is probably fine, right? It's when there's an accumulation of, if you will, toxic stress, that you know, that's something a little bit more serious, you know, might be required. Calm Within actually goes and eliminates that toxic stress, and then of course the sparkle aspect that I look forward to you sharing more about is where we go even deeper with that, right? And affect some of the underlying causes, and really access a much higher level of energy than we can with our own mind, perhaps.
Mhm.